الدين يا رب العالمين وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. Last week we went on a small we spoke about Turkey. Okay, we spoke about Turkey. This week inshallah we'll go back to our topic on the virtues of the Quran. Today inshallah we have in front of us Hawamim. Hawamim is the plural of Hamim. All those surahs that start with Hamim. So every single surah that starts with Hamim is part of Hawamim. Yeah, the first hadith we find is on the authority of Aisha. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصوم حتى نقول ما يريد أن يفطر ويفطر حتى نقول ما يريد أن يصوم وكان يقرأ كل ليلة ببني إسرائيل والزمر. Rasulullah, Aisha radiallahu anha reports, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to fast continuously to the extent that we used to think that he would never stop fasting. He'd continuously fast every single day, continuously, to the extent that we would think that he's not going to stop fasting anymore. And then vice versa as well. He would break his fast, meaning he would continuously eat, not in the sense that eat a lot, okay, that's a different context. He would break his fast and he'd continuously not fast to a great extent, to many days, where a person would think that he would continuously not fast at all. So there are times that you have to give the haqq to your own body. Sometimes fasting is good for your body, and sometimes overdoing fasting may bring a lot of harm. Okay? Overdoing something good is also bad. Okay? Watermelon, grapefruit. Yeah, everyone knows the grapefruit from the Sunnah as well. But if you overdo it, you're going to go into issues. Okay, especially those who have diabetes, isn't it? Dates, amazing fruit. Yeah, one of the most nutritious fruits out there. Superfruit, they call it. But if you go overboard, what's going to happen? Every single day you're munching on it like crazy. Eventually you're gonna have a sugar crush. So anything good has to be done in a moderate way. Over and above the limits, automatically you're going to turn that good thing into a bad thing. Same thing with fasting. Fasting is a very, very good way of clearing all the toxins out of your body. Okay? Nowadays, they use it for weight loss. One of the great methods of weight loss is to fast. But when a person overdoes it, goes over and above the bounds, sometimes that can, on the long run, have a more detrimental effect on his body without him knowing. There's going to be so many different types of deficiencies, hydration, so many things. So you need to be careful. Likewise, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he done according to his body. Of course, Rasulullah's body was not like our body. Okay? That's something that you need to understand as well. He had the strength of more than 70 men. It comes in one narration. So we have to understand according to our body. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best fast is the fast of Dawood alayhi salam. What's the fast of Dawood alayhi salam? He used to fast one day and he used to break his fast one day. And this is how we would alternate. Oh, they call it alternate day fasting, isn't it? Alternate day fasting. One day you fast, one day you break. One day you fast, one day you break. One day you fast, one day you break. That's the best type of fasting. Why? Because you're putting a slight stress on your body, but to the extent that your body can recover the next day, because you're still having some nutrition on the next day. So a person must be extremely careful when overdoing fasting. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the continuous fast. So there's the fast that we have, our normal fast from dawn to dusk, and then there's another fast which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam completely prohibited, which was continuously fasting. This is not water fasting or anything, okay? I'm talking about the dry fasting that we do. Okay, this is the Islamic fasting. Water fasting, I mean, we're not talking about water fasting here. We're talking about actual dry fasting. If a person were to dry fast continuously, without any breaks, without any iftar, without breaking it at Maghrib time, it's going to be detrimental to your body if you do it more than 2-3 days. You're going to feel the effects immediately. It's very dangerous to your body. So you need to be extremely careful even when you're taking the guidance of fasting. It's one of the best ways of getting toxins, any types of poisons, any types. You see so many stories, mashallah, even cancers and tumors get rid of cancers and tumors through fasting. So it is possible. Of course, you need to go under guidance of a proper medical doctor, person who's a specialist in this field. Needs to monitor all your blood levels and everything, your blood pressure, everything. Otherwise, if you're not monitored continuously, you might go into many deficiencies and later on you might not be able to recover. Sometimes it happens that many types of nutrients go out of your body in such a way that later on, even if you tried your best to improve those levels, it doesn't come back, especially at a later stage in your life. Especially if you go over 40, it'll be extremely hard to recover. So you need to be careful, inshallah. That's a point that came on fasting. Then وَكَانَ يَقْرَأُ كُلَّ لَيْلَةٍ بِبَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ وَالزُّمَرِ. Every single night, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to read Surah Bani Israel. Which one is Surah Bani Israel? سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى. Surah Bani Israel he used to read every single night, plus Surah Zumar. And the point of our discussion here is Surah Zumar starts with Hamim. Okay, we're talking about Hamims. Surah Zumar he used to read every single night. The next hadith we have عن عبد الله بن عمرو قال أتى رجل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال أقرئني يا رسول الله قال له اقرأ ثلاثا من ذات الراء فقال الرجل كبرت سني واشتد قلبي وغلظ لساني قال فاقرأ من ذات حاميم قال مثل مقالته الأولى فقال اقرأ ثلاثا من المسبحات فقال مثل مقالته فقال الرجل ولكن أقرئني يا رسول الله سورة جامعة. I'll give you the crux of this. An elderly man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Of course, he's going to be a Sahabi because he met Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He came to Rasulullah and he said, teach me a surah that will benefit me greatly in dunya and akhirah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam advised him to read every single surah that has a ra in. So for example, Alif Lam Ra. Okay? Alif Lam Ra. Or any single surah that starts off with a ra. Okay? In the beginning verse. He complained. He said, I'm an elderly man. I'm not able to memorize such long surahs. My tongue has become very heavy. My age has weakened me. Stuff like that. So he said, give me something which is easier for me. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, read the Hamims. Read all those surahs that start with Hamim. He repeated the same statement. He said, I'm an old man. I've become frail. I've become weak. I can't memorize long surahs. So he again repeated the same thing thrice, the third time. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, he taught him, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا فَأَقْرَأَهُ إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ حَتَّى فَرَغَ مِنْهَا, until he completed the whole surah. إِذَا زُلْزِلَ, he taught him a small surah, maybe 5 lines max. Then what did this man do? قَالَ الرَّجُلُ وَالَّذِي بَعَثَكَ بِالْحَقِّ لَا أَزِدُ عَلَيْهَا أَبَدًا. After learning this surah from Rasulullah's tongue, he left and he said, I won't increase upon this surah that Rasulullah taught me anymore. I will definitely practice upon this surah all my life until I die. The moment he turned his back and he started going away from the majlis, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to his companions, Aflah ar-ruwayjil. this person has become successful. This person is a Jannati. Basically, a glad tiding of this person's Jannah. Meaning, if he stays true to his words, meaning true to this surah that I've taught him, then inshallah, Jannah will be wajib upon him. Allahu Akbar. Such a small surah, but making amal on even such a small thing can get you Jannah as well. ثم قال علي به فجاءه فقال له أمرت بيوم الأضحى جعله الله عيدا لهذه الأمة. Then he goes on to another part, which, okay, let me just give you the crux of it, inshallah. This is really important in our times, because nowadays, the Eid al-Adha came, basically. This person was brought back. He was brought back. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, go and bring him back. And he said, Eid al-Adha has come. What can you give as a sacrifice? So the person said, my son, I don't have anything, but my son, he has sheep. I can give his sheep if you want. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا, no. ولكن تأخذ من شعرك وتقلم أظفارك وتحلق عانتك, meaning cut your hair, trim your nails, and cut your pubic hair as well, and this will be enough for you. This will be sufficient for you. Meaning you don't need to take the wealth of your son, because it comes in another hadith, Anta wa maluka li abika. Anta wa maluka li abika. You and whatever you possess belongs to your father. Problematic, isn't it? All those sons that are earning 80, 90 grand, everything that you earn belongs to your father. True. I mean, if you look at it in the true sense, your existence depends on your father. Without your father, you would never exist. Isn't it? Without your father, can you exist? You can't exist. Not possible. The means through which you came to this dunya is through your father. Now, that hadith is referring to if a father or a mother is in a state where they're in extreme level of desperation. They don't have enough food. They don't have enough money to live. Then yes, they can take that amount to live off their children. That basic necessity must be fulfilled by the children. That's what that hadith is referring to. It doesn't mean you and everything that you possess belongs to your father. Okay? Just to clarify that point. Because that hadith does come in Sahih al-Bukhari many times. Many times. And if you look at that hadith on the face value, you will be misunderstood. Okay? You will be misunderstood, especially if you read a translation. That's why I do not recommend anyone to just pick up any book of hadith and to start reading hadith from cover to cover, because you're going to be more confused than ever in your life. Okay? Without an ustad, you'll be more confused than ever in your life. You'd hope. I have a brother from my personal experience. He done the same thing. He read the whole Abu Dawud from cover to cover. I was like, you read the whole Abu Dawud from cover to cover? Do you understand how many hadith? Nearly 5,000 hadith inside there. He's like, yeah, brother, I read it. I'm like, how much did you benefit from it? He's like, I came out more confused than I started. Why? Because that's not a book for a normal person, normal lay person. That's a book for scholars. That's a book for scholars. In Abu Dawud, mashallah, if anyone, inshallah, will go through the history of Abu Dawud and everything slowly, inshallah, in the future. Abu Dawud, Imam Ghazali said, one of the Hujjatul Islam, the proof of Islam, he said if a person masters Abu Dawud, he can become a mujtahid. He can become a mujtahid. Do you understand what mujtahid means? The highest rank of a jurist, of a faqih. Okay, like Imam Abu Hanifa, like Imam Malik, like Imam Shafi'i, like Imam Ahmad. Why? Because the book is arranged in such a way, it's like from beginning to end, it's all to do with fiqh. All to do with fiqh. All the hadith on fiqh, on all the chapters of fiqh, he tried to bring it, and he tried to bring all the evidences of the four imams as well. Because they are the most accepted out of the whole ummah. Although sometimes he might bring the evidences of other imams, but those imams, generally, their views are in line with these four imams. So, for example, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, his views generally are going to be in line with Imam Abu Hanifa. Might be more senior than Abu Hanifa, but his views are similar to Imam Abu Hanifa. So he brings them as evidence as Imam Abu Hanifa's. Of course, now it's not going to be written. This is the evidence of Imam Abu Hanifa. This is the evidence of Imam Shafi. You as a student, you're supposed to build up to that stage. Same with Imam Bukhari. He won't tell you this is the opinion of this person and that person. With Imam Tirmidhi, mashallah, that's different. That's his speciality. A person can actually open his book and he actually says that this is after a couple of hadith, he'll tell you this is the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa. This is the opinion of Sufyan al-Thawri. This is the opinion of Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad and Imam Malik. Okay, that's the beauty of Imam Tirmidhi. He mentions whose opinions these are. And Imam Tirmidhi makes it very clear in the beginning of his book that the whole book, every single hadith in his whole book is practiced upon by one faqih or another. Because you will never ever find a whole book of hadith like Imam Bukhari's, because they came later. They came approximately 100 years later. Understand this. Imam Abu Hanifa, he passed away 150 after Hijrah. 150 after Hijrah. Imam Bukhari, he passed away 256 after Hijrah. 106 years after Imam Abu Hanifa. You understand the massive difference? And thereafter come the other ulama like Imam Muslim and then Imam Abu Dawood and Nasa'i and all of them. They come after. So there's a massive gap in between. So when they wrote the books, they wrote these 6 books, 6 mother books as we call them in hadith, the Kutub al-Sitta, or sometimes loosely said Sahih Sitta or Sihah Sitta, the 6 authentic compilations. There's nothing wrong in saying that, because the vast majority is Sahih. The vast majority is Sahih. Some people have a big problem nowadays because they got the pulpits nowadays. Unfortunately, the ignorance keeps on spreading. There's a reason why Imam Bukhari, he mentioned in the beginning that he's writing a compilation on Sahih. Doesn't mean he never claimed that he's going to gather all the Sahih hadith in one book. No, that wasn't his claim. He never claimed that. You can't come today and say, oh, all the hadiths of Sahih are only inside Sahih al-Bukhari. Anything out of Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim are batil. It's ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. This person has no level of scholarship at all. For you to even claim such a thing is ridiculous to any alim. Anyone that knows any bit of Islam and has studied any level of Islamic studies will say this is utter complete nonsense. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That wasn't Imam Bukhari's aim. Imam Bukhari's aim was only to compile those Sahih hadiths that go according to his conditions. He had certain stringent conditions, certain very strict conditions. If those conditions were met, he kept it inside his Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari he wrote over 16 years. Not 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. 16 years. It's a long, very long period of time. So there's different khasiyat for each and every single book. There's different specialities of each and every single book. For example, Imam Muslim's book. All the African scholars, the Mauritanian scholars, the Moroccan scholars, the Tunisian scholars, they preferred that. They preferred Imam Muslim's book over Imam Bukhari's. Why? Because of the arrangement, the systematic arrangement of Imam Muslim. What he would do is he would gather so for you to come to any conclusion on any matter, what you need to do is gather all the hadiths possible on the topic before you start saying that I think this and I think that. Okay? This is why scholars understand the difficulty of what this means. Okay, you have to search out probably 100, 150 books out, okay, minimum, before you can gather the whole topic first. Okay, Imam Muslim, what he does is he does jam'u riwayat. He gathers all the narrations of one topic together in one place with all the different variances, all the different additions, subtractions, extras. This narrator, there's a narrator here extra, there's a portion in this narration of this person, he added extra. It gives you all the extras. So you'd find all of that in one place. After assessing all those narrations on one topic, then you can come to some conclusion. You can't just open Bukhari and start jumping up and down. I found the hadith, therefore I must practice upon it. No, there's no. I'm telling you, there's no scholar. There's no scholar in history. There's no scholar in history that done such a thing. This is ridiculous, utter ridiculous. For you to open a book by yourself and for you to start reading the translation and thinking that you understand what you understood is complete utter nonsense. Please don't come with that. Don't take on that. It's like opening a book of medicine and trying to say, look, just because I understand English, I'll understand medicine as well. You understand the the ridiculousness of that view, and then you start surgery and you start practicing upon people. What's going to happen? You're going to get jailed, isn't it? You're going to get jailed. Why? Because it's ridiculous. You're going against the whole method of how it's done. You haven't studied by experts. And those who claim that they've studied by experts, unfortunately, nowadays, what's happening is they're half-baked. They don't know what they studied. They've studied bits and pieces, but they don't know how to put the puzzle together. That's why we follow the Salaf. That's why we follow the Salaf. Who are the Salaf? You can say as much as you want, you follow Quran and Sunnah according to the understanding of the Salaf. But who are the Salaf? The Salaf are Imam Abu Hanifa. He met more than 12 companions. I said this before, previously. He met more than 12 Sahaba. So what is he? Who's the person that met a Sahaba? It's called Tabi'een. He's from the Tabi'een. He's the only one from the 4 Imams that's considered a Tabi'een. The rest of them, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmad are Tabu'ut Tabi'een or Atba'ut Tabi'een. Yeah? They didn't meet any Sahaba. So that virtue, they didn't have. That virtue, that slight extra virtue, they didn't have. But anyway, the point is, all of them are from Salafus Salihin. Who are the Salafus Salihin? The first 3 generations. The Sahaba, my companions, Ma ana alayhi wa ashabi, and then those who are after them and those who are after them. After them meaning Sahaba, Tabi'een, and Atba'ut Tabi'een. These are the 3 ranks that are from the Salafus Salihin. Now, amongst these are the 4 Imams. So if you say that you're following Quran and Sunnah according to the understanding of the Salaf, but you're not following one of the 4 Imams, what does it mean? What does that mean? You're following isolated views from this person, from this Tabi'i and that Tabi'i and this Tabi'i and that Tabi'i. Whereas the 4 Imams have a systematic approach of combining the whole Sharia in one place for you. And they are from the Salaf. And if you look at their views more or less, I'm not saying all of the views of the Tabi'een and the Atba'ut Tabi'een are going to be put together in their views only, but more or less it covers majority of the views of the Tabi'een and the Atba'ut Tabi'een and the Sahaba. And from these madhabs, the Hanafi madhab is more vast. Why? Because our Imam, he wasn't just alone. His 2 students, Imam Abu Yusuf and Muhammad bin Hassan al-Shaybani, who were the great 2 Imams, they were also mujtahids of the highest caliber. Imam Abu Yusuf was the ustad of Imam Shafi'i. Imam Muhammad bin Hassan al-Shaybani was the ustad of Imam Shafi'i. Muhammad bin Hassan al-Shaybani was the student of Imam Malik as well. Not only was the ustad of Imam Shafi'i, but he was also the student of Imam Malik. So they've all got links. Every single one of them are linked together. Imam Shafi'i is the ustad of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the greatest muhaddith, the greatest faqih as well. So all of them are interlinked. And I mentioned once as well that Imam Shafi'i, he has so much respect. He says every single time I went to the grave to make ziyarah, to visit the grave of Imam Abu Hanifa, whichever dua that I make to Allah, make it very careful, please. Don't come out shooting with your guns, please. Whichever dua that I made to Allah in front of the qabr of Abu Hanifa, it got accepted. It got accepted. This is a great sunnah that we are missing today. We don't go and make ziyarah of awliya. These were not just fuqaha of the highest caliber. These were awliya. I told you, Imam Abu Hanifa was someone who used to recite the Quran 61 times in Ramadan. 61 times. One time in the whole daytime, one time throughout the whole night, and one khatam with the Imam in Taraweeh throughout the whole month. So one khatam in the morning or throughout the day, one khatam throughout the night, and then one khatam all throughout the whole month with the Imam. 61 khatams. 61 khatams. These were awliya. These were the saints and the friends of Allah. So anyone that claims Quran and Sunnah according to the understanding of the Salaf, but he's following something other than the four madhabs, he's completely on batil. Understand that he's definitely on batil. The whole ummah, the whole world, the four corners of the globe, for over 1,000 years, 1,000 years, we're not talking about 100 years, we're not talking about 200 years, we're not talking about a trend here. There's no fashion trend here, okay? We're talking about over 1,000 years, and we've got proof. We've got Zaytuna, the oldest university in the world, Islamic institution in the world, in Tunisia. Then we have Qarawiyyin in Morocco, in Fez. Then we have Azhar. All three of them are running way over 1,000 years. Way over 1,000 years. So if you want to claim something other than the madhahib, which are followed, these four madhabs, then understand that you are not following the actual Salafus Salihin. You are following your whims and desires and whichever opinions you feel like, whichever isolated opinions you feel like following. You are not following the vast majority of the ummah. Sawadul A'zam Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave glad tidings, good news. He gave good news for those who are the vast majority, meaning the vast majority of the scholars. Nowadays, unfortunately, we've got people coming around posing themselves as scholars. Unfortunately, posing themselves as scholars, and they start demeaning and degrading the status of people like Imam Nawawi. The Imam Nawawi's aqidah wasn't correct. La ilaha illallah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Imam Nawawi's aqidah. If Imam Nawawi's aqidah wasn't correct, brother, how is your Sheikh's aqidah correct? You tell me. Where did you get your sanads from? In hadith and in Quran. Where? Ibn al-Jazari, the master of the 10 qira'at. The 10 qira'at that is recited, all the 10 different variations that are allowed to be recited in of Quran. Ibn al-Jazari, if he was an Ash'ari himself, and if his aqidah is batil, brother, where is your aqidah from? They even poke fingers at Fathul Bari, the greatest commentary ever written in the history of Islam on Sahih al-Bukhari. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the Ra'isul Muhaddithin, we call him the peak, the highest point of all the Muhaddithin. He's like the be-all and the end-all. They have problems with his aqidah because he's an Ash'ari. They make tabdi' and tafsiq of Imam Suyuti because they claim him to be a Sufi. This understanding of Sufi is highly problematic in your brains nowadays because of what you're listening to social media continuously. The Sufi, according to the tariqah of Quran and Sunnah, and then the Sufis who are dancing around and doing their own nonsense. Okay? That's not part of Sufiya. That's not part of true Sufiya. Please understand this very well. All of our ulama were Sufis, true Sufis. Sufis according to what? According to Quran and Sunnah Sufis. Not Sufis according to these dancing, what do you call those? Turkish things. So, always understand that when you take deen, you're taking deen from over 1,000 years of legacy. This is a legacy. This is not just coming from one madrasa that opened, mashallah, 60 years ago called Medina University by the government of Muhammad bin Salman or his father. Let's say his father. Hey, 60 years is nothing. You've got nothing to prove. You've got nothing to prove. We've got universities running over 1,000 years, 1,200 years. That's where we prove our Islam. Not through a madrasa or university that came out 60 years ago. Astaghfirullah. Don't try to come and hijack the title of Ahlul Sunnah. Ahlul Sunnah will remain Ahlul Sunnah. These Wahhabi, this Salafi sect, they come with such a type of brainwashing, and they just come with so much toxicity. Unfortunately, they're so negative towards the approach in deen. People now are running away from them. You can clearly see people don't want to do anything with them. In fact, they're becoming a hindrance towards Islam. People don't want to come towards Islam because of their mentality. They've become so hard and harsh, and the approach has become so toxic that it's my way or the highway. It's the way I understand, and my sheikh understands, and my sheikh's sheikh understands. Otherwise, if Ibn Uthaymeen says it, khalas, it's end of story. Brother, are you following Ibn Uthaymeen or are you following the Salafus Salihin? Ask yourself a logical question, rational question. Are you following Albani and are you following Bin Baz? Are these the people that you're going to come on the day of judgment and say, these were the people I was following, Ya Allah? Are they the Salafus Salihin? Is that the banner of Quran and Sunnah according to the understanding of the Salaf? Go into the fatwa books. Go into the fatwa books. All. Bin Baz said it, khalas. No Quran and Sunnah, no references, nothing. And sometimes when they do give Quran and Sunnah references, they twist it. Where are you supposed to go and die? As a lay person, it's even more confusing. For scholars ourselves, it's confusing enough. Well, it's not confusing, but I'm saying like it's a fitna. But for the lay person, it's even more confusing because they don't have any tools. They don't have the Arabic. They can't sift through anything because they didn't learn usul al-fiqh. They didn't learn usul al-hadith. They didn't learn usul al-fiqh. And they go to the people who are ignorant, absolutely ignorant of religion. They will not come to a scholar. Wallahi, they will not come to a scholar. They will never come to a scholar. Tell them to go to a scholar. If they come to debate, you tell them to go to a scholar. They will not be able to go to a scholar. Because they know a scholar is well-grounded. He studied throughout the years. He studied 8 years for a reason. He didn't just go and do a crash course, 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 4 weeks. He went through a whole system. He studied our legacy upon legacy upon legacy. In our Dars-e-Nizami course, in our Alimiya course, the proper 8 years course, Alhamdulillah, we go through books after books after books of only classical scholars. The least, the earliest book that we study is probably 500 years ago. All the books are 500 to at least 1,000, more than 1,000 years ago. So we don't study something new. Okay, we don't study something new, because the more we go away from Rasulullah, the more weird ideas come out. The further we go away from the understanding of true Quran and Sunnah. That's why we follow the earlier scholars, where we are more safe for our deen, for our understanding, for our akhlaq, for everything. It's much better for your faith for you to follow the earlier scholars than to follow these scholars of the 21st century, who unfortunately, they have hundreds of dollars and thousands of pounds being pumped, Saudi riyals again and again, just to distort deen, to break your deen apart. This is a ploy from shaitan. Wallahi, this is a ploy from shaitan. It's like the munafiqeen, they creep in within the Muslims. They try to destroy the Muslims from the inside. They know they can't destroy Islam from the outside. Enemies, they know they can't destroy Islam from the outside. So what do? They throw in all the poisons within the garb, Saudi garb of mashallah, I'm wearing the rida here now. I'm a great sheikh, I've become a sheikh, and a nice scarf here. Astaghfirullah. Be careful. Wallahi, be careful, brothers. This scarf is very devious. It's a deception. Just because a person wears a scarf, it means he's a sheikh. He's become a sheikh. Just because he's giving nasiha here and there, he's become a sheikh. Tell him to read 2 lines of Hidayah, Kitabul Hidayah. Come, bring him. Bring him 2 lines of Hidayah. I guarantee you he'll make mistakes. Guaranteed mistakes. And him you call a sheikh? He can't read a book that's been written 1,000 years ago, and him you call a sheikh? Just because he gives some nasiha, he becomes a sheikh. Astaghfirullah. Tampering and playing with this deen, time has gone now. Time is up. Time is up. We don't need these people to come and to hijack the title of Ahlus Sunnah. We are Ahlus Sunnah and we are proud that we are Ahlus Sunnah. Ahlus Sunnah is accepted and was accepted, and until now, Alhamdulillah, we have never had any issues, whether it was through any governance, whether it was through any empire that existed throughout Islam, whether it was the Ottomans and all those that were before. Alhamdulillah. Why? Because the origin was saved. The origin of your deen was saved. What do we study? When it comes to Aqidah, which kitab do we study first? We study Kitab al-Tahawiyah, 5 pages. Aqidah al-Tahawiyah, only 5 pages. When was it written? 321 after Hijrah, Imam Tahawi passed away. 321, he was considered from the first 3 generations. First 300 years of Islam. That's the first book we study. What do they study in Medina University, or before they go to Medina University? What do they study? 10 things which break your Islam. Hey, we're trying to get people into Islam and trying to teach people what Islam is and what's your beliefs. They're trying to say 10 things which break your Islam. Muslims, they turn into mushriks. They call us mushriks. Why? Because we go and make dua next to the graves. Next to the graves, making dua, you're making dua to who? Any sane Muslim is going to make dua to the person inside who's dead, who's rotted. Huh? Any sane Muslim is going to do that? Not possible. غير عاقل. This is, I told you this about aql last week or the week before. This is غير, this is far beyond. For you to be suspicious about Muslims like this, in itself speaks a million of who you are. Rasulullah doesn't fear of shirk upon us. Why? Because he knows your Islam, you bringing faith in Islam in the beginning, La ilaha illallah, la ma'buda illallah. There's no other thing that I can worship at all. It's not possible. Any human knows, any Muslim knows, I cannot from its roots, never, no way can it be possible for me to worship anything other than Allah. So when you're going to the grave and when you're making dua, are you making dua to the person inside? Never. No Muslim will do that, brother. For you to have suspicion is your problem. That's your problem. He's saying, Ya Allah, give me this. Ya Allah, give me that. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana. And you're saying, brother, he's doing shirk. Whose problem is it? Your problem. You're having suspicion about another Muslim. He's a Muslim, he's aqil, he's got a brain, he's got intelligence. Why would he ask the person inside? Why would you even think that? Why would you even think that he's asking the person inside? Imam Shafi'i, when he went to the grave of Imam Abu Hanifa and he said, all my du'as get accepted. Whenever I make dua there in that place, Ya Rab. It's a big problem for a lot of people, isn't it, nowadays? When I go to his grave, all my du'as get accepted. Now you're going to say Imam Shafi'i is mushrik as well, isn't it? Huh? What are you going to say to these narrations? Oh, they're da'if, they're weak, they're batil, they're mardud. That's what they're going to do. Reject everything. If you reject, brother, understand this here. Understand this well. If you reject weak hadith, there's more than 100 variations. Weak is just a word that ulama only translate for a layperson to understand. Okay? There's more than 120 different types of weak narrations. Any single small thing can make a hadith weak. Sometimes to one scholar it's weak, to another scholar it's still strong. It's still sound, it's still accepted. When it comes to weak narrations, if you were to take the largest encyclopedia ever written in history, Islamic history, the greatest and the largest, approximately 47,000 narrations. Kanzul Ummal. The name is Kanzul Ummal. The biggest book of hadith that gathers all the hadiths, and he tries to do it without any repetition. Half that book is weak. half those hadiths inside that book is weak. That means half of your Islam. I know normally scholars won't speak like this. I'm only speaking because of the fitna. These people, for you to understand what a weak hadith is. That weak hadith you can't just reject just because you feel like it. 47,000 narrations, half, I'm guaranteeing you, guarantee, half that whole book of 47,000, half of it is definitely weak. Definitely weak, without any second of a doubt. Half the hadiths of the 47,000 are weak in some way or another, according to some muhaddith or some faqih or another. Now, are you going to throw that half inside the dustbin? Isn't that what the Saudi sheikhs are saying? This is the reality, brother. Wake up. Why do you think our scholars didn't neglect da'if? Otherwise, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, whom they say they follow, isn't it? Whenever you tell them which madhab do you follow, immediately they say, oh, I'm Hanbali nowadays. Nowadays, they say, oh, I'm Hanbali. Before, when we were growing up, when we were like studying, when we went into studies 20 years ago, they used to say, oh, we don't follow any madhab, brother. That's this and that's that. We follow Quran and Sunnah. Direct Quran and Sunnah, mashallah. Quran and Sunnah came to you. It came nazilu isat marufri. Quran and Sunnah, according to the understanding of who? Your father, your grandfather, who taught you? Your sheikh, who's your sheikh? How did your sheikh get deen? From Najd? Astaghfirullah. This is problematic, highly problematic. If you're willing to throw away a half of hadith literature in the bin, then follow these people. Because wallahi, none of the Salafus Salihin done that. None. Not one single Salafus Salihin done that, ever. None. Without any exception. If you can bring an exception, please bring the exception. I will find it for you. Please bring the exception. Which Salafus Salihin completely abandoned all of weak hadiths in totality, and he didn't make amal on any single weak hadith. Imam Bukhari, the Don himself, in every single book other than his Sahih al-Bukhari, he mentions weak hadiths in abundance. Who are you and me to say we reject any sort of weak hadith? Even this logic doesn't work. Who said it's weak in the first place? Who said it? Huh? The muhaddithin. So you're following who? You're following the muhaddithin. So you're following someone. Automatically you're following someone. If you don't want to follow Abu Hanifa, you're going to follow someone. You're going to follow Imam Hakim, or you're going to follow Imam Dhahabi, or you're going to follow someone, Ibn Hajar, who the same person you don't agree with his aqidah. Okay? Qurtubi's aqidah is problematic. Tabari's aqidah is problematic. Tahawi, his aqidah here and there, we have to start making different changes. Making changes of the whole deen, brother. You're not going to leave no deen left. What you're doing is you're completely tampering everything. You're tampering your whole deen, your hadith, your aqidah, your fiqh, everything. That's why nowadays, unfortunately, the situation has come that even the basic masla masail, ta'limul haq, a basic person doesn't know. The most basic book on fiqh, nobody knows. Why? Because of this fitna of Quran and Sunnah. Quran and Sunnah. This slogan, this wrong slogan, kalimatu haqqin urida biha al-batil. It's a correct word, it's a correct statement, but the intended meaning was evil. Quran and Sunnah, that's basic. If you say, if I tell you, are you following Quran and Sunnah? And you say, I'm a Hanafi, brother. That automatically means that you are following Quran and Sunnah according to the understanding of a Salafus Salih, who is Imam Abu Hanifa, isn't it? That's what I'm intending. That's what I'm saying. Now, if a person if I ask a person, do you follow any of the four madhabs? And he says, no, brother, I follow Quran and Sunnah directly. What is he claiming? He's claiming Abu Hanifa didn't follow Sunnah and didn't follow Quran. He's claiming Imam Malik, he didn't follow Quran and he didn't follow Sunnah directly. He is claiming Imam Shafi'i didn't understand Quran and didn't understand Hadith. He is claiming the dawn of all dawns, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the person who memorized more than 1 million Hadith or million narrations. Let's put it there. Million narrations. He doesn't understand or didn't know Quran and Hadith. You understand the gravity of this statement? You understand? Have I been able to make you understand the gravity of this danger that these people pose upon your Quran and Sunnah, claiming themselves to be Quran and Sunnah, that we are following directly Quran and Sunnah? You cannot. Nobody can follow Quran and Sunnah directly. No, impossible. Absolutely impossible. Without you getting guidance. Look, why did the Imams appear? Quran and Sunnah. How many verses of the Quran are there? How many verses of the Quran? Come on. Over 6,000, isn't it? Over 6,000 verses of the Quran. How many verses are to do with ahkam, fiqh, day-to-day rulings? Huh? Maximum. Ulama said, maximum. Even if you were to go to the utter max, it's 500 verses. Only 500 verses are to do with rulings, day-to-day rulings. Hadith, I told you the greatest encyclopedia of hadith is 47,000. 47,000. That's including weak, all the weak and the fabricated. There's approximately 5,000 hadiths which are fabricated hadith inside that encyclopedia. Okay? In Kanzul Ummal. Just so that you don't take me as reference and say Ustad said Kanzul Ummal is the most accepted book or something. No. It's not an accepted book. I'm saying it's the most vast book ever written on hadith literature. Like in hadith form, hadith text form, there was no other book that has gathered so much hadith together from all the books that exist, from all the existent books together in one book in a systematic way. So from the 47,000, if you deduct 5,000, how many left? 42,000. 42,000, half of it is weak in one way or another. How many left? 21,000. You're going to restrict your whole religion in 21,000 hadiths. Do you understand how many scenarios that pop up in every single day-to-day person's life? This is why the Imams came. This is why we rely on the Imams. In a day-to-day situation, there's so many things that occur that you will never find solutions in Quran and Hadith. Why? Don't misunderstand me to say that Quran and Hadith are limited, but in a certain way they are limited because they are texts. Because they are texts. Any text is limited. Any text which can be confined is limited. If you find a maximum of 500 verses to do with fiqh and 21,000 ahadiths, which are more or less sound, yeah, you're going to make up your whole sharia with this? Imam Abu Hanifa, he accepted weak hadiths with certain conditions. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he said, whenever there's no authentic narration, I definitely take weak hadiths over my opinion, over qiyas. Imam Malik, same. He takes weak hadiths non-stop. Even the ones with broken chains, he takes them non-stop. Of course, from certain individuals, not from anyone and everyone. Okay, he's got conditions. All of them, when they accept weak hadith, they accept it with conditions. Okay? Not unconditionally. If a person understands it to mean unconditionally they accept weak, this would be also a complete wrong understanding. They accept it, but with conditions. With conditions. Same with Imam Shafi'i. Many of them claim that Imam Shafi'i didn't accept weak hadith, and this is the way of the muhaddithin later on, those who came after. This is also not true. They also, if you look at Imam al-Zarkashi's Usul, he's got a massive book on Usul al-Fiqh. He tried to gather all the four madhabs and the Usul al-Fiqh together in one place. But he was he's a Shafi'i. He's a very great Shafi'i scholar. So here, very clearly, he mentions that Imam Shafi'i also does accept weak hadiths, but again with conditions. So we know that all the four Imams and all the great Salafus Salihin in totality have to accept at one point or another, because you're bound to accept. When there's no other way to go, you're going to have to accept weak hadiths. Okay? In the chapter of, for example, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal says, in the chapter of to do with slaves, like, look, there's just not enough hadiths, sahih hadiths on the topic. We have to take weak hadiths. We have to depend on weak hadiths when it comes to these chapters. Many, many, many chapters like these. And especially with fada'il, especially to do with virtues of good deeds, all of them agree. Vast majority of all the ulama, from the earliest scholars to the later scholars, everyone, vast majority, even Ibn Taymiyyah, even Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, whom they look up to so much, even they have so many weak hadiths inside. If you look at Majmu' al-Fatawa of Ibn Taymiyyah, so many weak hadiths, so many weak hadiths. So are you going to claim now he's a weak muhaddith? They will never. They will never. It's double standards. For certain individuals, they got double standards. Unfortunately, this is the game that they play with our deen. So, please be very careful. Deen is amana. Deen is a trust. Deen is a trust. It cannot be taken away from those who preserve this trust. For you to come later now, after 1500 years, and to start claiming that I and my sheikh and my sheikh's sheikh in Saudi, what I follow is haq, and everyone else is a mushrik in the whole world. Practically, you look at Durar al-Saniyya, Ibn Abdul Wahhab, the books that they study of Ibn Abdul Wahhab in Aqidah, that's practically more or less what he does. He literally makes takfir upon the vast majority of the ummah. This is where this mentality comes. This is where this mentality comes out from. Durar as-Saniyya. Register this book. If you know Arabic, please go back to it. Refer back to it. If you want the slides, I'll give you the slides, inshallah. This type of mentality of making takfir of another person. Imam Abu Hanifa, what does he say? Imam Abu Hanifa was who? From the Salaf. What does he say? I'll give you the stories of Imam Abu Hanifa one day, inshallah. These firaq batila, they came to him, these deviant groups, and they said, a person, he drinks and drinks and drinks, meaning alcohol. And they said so many different types of major sins. Imam Abu Hanifa still made excuse for them. He said, does he claim he's a Muslim? Meaning the person who drinks, or the person who fornicates, or the person who does that major sin. Na'udhu billah. Is he a Muslim? At the end, they had to accept, yes, he is a Muslim. Even if you do those types of sins, they will not take you out of the fold of Islam unless a person believes this to be, like, for example, nowadays, the thing that we're faced with nowadays is the LGBT crowd. Okay? A very big topic, very problematic topic. But if a person, one thing, I wouldn't even use the word tolerate. One thing is to believe that they exist. They do their things, we do our things. We don't know. Okay? We don't want to know. You do your things, that's your personal life. That's our personal life. You don't want to know, alas. Another thing is to accept them. If you or your son or your daughter goes to a normal school and accepts them, meaning their ideology to be allowed within Islam in any way or form, if they get brainwashed in that, because that's the situation we're going in right now, unfortunately. You would think all your life that your children are growing up as Muslims, whereas they're not Muslims. If a person believes a major sin, any major sin, drinking alcohol, zina, anything, murder, anything, any major sin in Islam, if he believes that to be okay, or for example, missing a fard salah to be okay, there's nothing wrong with it. He doesn't believe it to be fard. He doesn't believe it to be a sin. He's become a kafir on the spot. This is the view of every single alim in dunya, from the first person to the last person. There's no differences of opinion here. If he believes a sin not to be a sin, and if he believes a fard not to be a fard, he becomes a kafir on the spot. He can claim to be a Muslim all his life, he's not a Muslim. You understand how dangerous that is? But on the other hand, for you to go around having suspicion about others, this is problematic. That's why Imam Abu Hanifa says, I will make 99 excuses if I can to keep that person in the fold of Islam. Meaning I will never make takfir. Takfir meaning kufr. Say that another person is a non-Muslim. I will never, ever dare. Because that's not mine. That's not for me to judge. That's Allah's. Whether he's a Muslim or not, I don't know. He might be more beloved than me. I might be doing all the ibadah, all the salah, all the everything. Nothing's getting accepted. On the day of judgment, I come and I've got nothing. Is that understood? So therefore, never ever be careful of those who make tabdi', meaning this person is a bid'ati, this person is bid'ati, everyone's a mushrik, everyone's a this, everyone's a that, this one's a fasiq, this one's a zindiq. They come up with so many words, mashallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the tawfiq. This person is this person is that, this person. Stay away from these people, because they are